as we were running through the Medina towards the finish line, we all said to each other, I bet Sam's there with a glass of wine in her hand already. And there she was.
Hello, this is Bram, aka the Lazy Racer, and welcome back to the coverage of the Lupine 2025 London to Marrakesh race by public transport. I'm joined by James Finnerty, race director. What was the experience like at the finish line?
It was quite an interesting vibe. It's the first time it's ended up happening until wee hours of the morning. There was a few people lurking around the square wondering what was going on, but they kind of got into the spirit of it and actually started cheering people as they came across the line.
I can now bring in some of this year's contenders, Sarah and Fernando, who were part of the first few people to arrive in Marrakesh. Sarah, Fernando, well done on a really strong race. Sarah, for you, it was the first time. How did you experience the race?
I loved it, to be honest. It felt like the first time in years, and it's because I've got young children and I haven't been able to do things like this for a while. I keep saying to people, it feels like I felt really alive for the first time in years. I was doing stuff that felt just amazing. It felt fun. It was exciting. I couldn't think about work because I was so busy planning and doing other things.
I think the Lupine race is probably the ultimate exercise in mindfulness.
You have the experience from previous races. I guess you worked out quite quickly that you'd be stuck in Chamonix or in Toulon or in Bayonne.
Yeah.
What went through your mind at that moment that you realized, oh, I'm going to be stuck for a bit. I can't just go full out.
When I saw the race back and I started looking at options, my first thought was probably the route through Santiago is going to be the most reliable one. But then I very soon realized that Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port was tricky to get out of in the middle of the night. So I could get there during the first day, but then I wouldn't be able to get out. I dismissed the island hopper route too soon. I still think I would still pick the same option. And the reason for that is if the timings would have worked. Chamonix is quite remote, but it's still kilometers away from Italy, very close to Switzerland. So there are still a few routes that you can take out of there, as I did. It was a gamble. It could have paid off, but luck is a really big element on this race, and that's why it's so fun as well.
Viewers at home might have noticed that you decided to turn back in the direction of Dijon in the middle of the night. Were you hoping to gain an advantage by backtracking in that way?
Not at all. The reason for that is there were basically two options to get out of Chamonix and onto Andorra. The next day, one was a bus to Geneva at 3:26 in the morning. The other option was taking that bus to Dijon. Then you would arrive a little bit earlier to Lyon.
So when I was doing the planning, it did look to me like Andorra should have been the earliest option with an arrival time in Valencia of around 4 a.m. Is that
Exactly.
the one that you'd computed as well? And
4:30.
where did the delay occur that didn't have you achieve that target?
If everything went according to plan, it would have been, my calculations, it would have been possible to get to Marrakesh at 11:15 or 12:15 on Monday night. It didn't go according to plan, and the thing that failed was the TGV in France. So interestingly, it wasn't Deutsche Bahn this year, it was the French trains.
Were you hoping throughout that maybe the island hoppers would get some delays with their ferries? Did you still believe you could make a difference, or did you already feel like, it's not going to be my year?
In Toulouse, looking at the ferry schedules, we realized that the island hoppers were going to be able to get to Valencia at 8 a.m. and the earliest we would there was 10.
I think for me, what strikes me every time is that in the WhatsApp, there is such a community feeling. There's people looking out for each other, retrieving lost items, giving each other a pep talk when things are looking down.
Totally agree. You keep encountering people through the way, which is a really weird experience, especially the first time when you don't really know anyone. And you see someone in Brussels and then encounter them 2 days later in the south of Italy. Uh, so that's quite fun.
Sarah, you were a leading pack. I imagine that with your co-leaders, you start looking at each other, thinking, what do they know? How did that play
It
out?
was a funny odd experience I found when we realised we were at the front of the pack. Me and Candy and my brother were travelling together, James. James naturally wanted to hide to the point that he made us all take our lupine bands off. Like, get them off! Get them off! Like, we suddenly were like, what are we doing? But me and Candy would actually like, let's go be friends with them. There was one point when we were getting the ferry from Algeciras. They were in a queue to get a ticket, the ticket to go to Tangier Med, and we were going to Tangierville. And once they saw James pick up our tickets, they all moved to our queue and got the same ferry we were on. We're like, ah! Like they weren't going to get him that cute. They weren't going to get him this very. We in Candy were very keen on being, friends with everybody, and we were, and we got on really well with Sam. Really loved hanging out with Sam because Sam kept disappearing. She kept disappearing off the map as well. We're like, oh, we've lost her. And you'd literally turn the corner in the train, and there she was. You're like, why are you still here? As we were running through the Medina towards the finish line, we all said to each other, I bet Sam's there with a glass of wine in her hand already. And there she was, not with a glass of wine, but with a big glass of water.
Fantastic. Fernando, like another story from last year's race. Do you remember on the bus I offered everyone bananas? And the only person to take me up on that was Alex L, who then went on to win. And at the same time, you want to be friendly. You don't want to be too friendly. You're kind of jostling for position to get off first. James, would you like to provide us with an update on the latest in the points classification as well as preview the people's vote?
There was quite a bit of movement in the points leaderboard earlier today. Various races went through the combo of Andorra entering Spain and Catalonia. It's all settled down for some of them are trying to head towards Gibraltar and the Spanish exclaves in Morocco. We're still in the same position with Alex L and Nina on 20 and 19, then Jet Set, Wes T on 18, and then quite a few people on 17. It's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be a really close one, I think.
James, there's a people's vote category. Can you tell us a bit more about what that entails?
It's an online vote where racers can nominate themselves so that people following along with them can vote for them if they enjoy the videos and updates. Each person on the ballot has to work with one Flixbus on it. So everyone who votes in it gets a Flixbus code if they validate their vote with a valid email address. Kirsten and Lucy have been doing really well on TikTok covering the race, so they've been getting some votes there. The Horticulturalist, Joe F, Kristen and Rich, Nina, Lupine Racing Quizzes, Sam and Rihanna, who are up there on the country counting as well. Seat reservation required, Dusty Dames, which is a group of 3, and then Yorkshire Van Adventures.
What do people have to do if they want to vote for their favourite?
There's a link to the website on the bio of our Instagram account.
Fernando, are there any tips that you have for people considering taking part in the race for the first time?
I guess the main one is to stay focused on trying not to panic too much.
Sarah, how about you? Do you have any tips?
I think absolutely don't panic, because that's where we went wrong. We panicked when we had a short connection. We just rushed. I just had fun. Like, it was great. And I'm now looking at the WhatsApp group with the country counters, and it makes me want to do it that way now, because they've got this community, haven't they? This lovely community that they've built this past week. And that's also something that I'm really looking forward to getting involved with in the future, especially when the kids are a bit older and I can do it that way.
So thank you very much, and enjoy the party on Saturday if you're still there.